Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up this evening, we find out which part of our region is a bird watching hotspot. We have our weekly reflections from Ben Norton, and tonight's guest is Fiona Griffin from the Homestart Snowflake Appeal. Welcome to Estuary News, I'm Hugh Richards. Time now for the news headlines.
A 40-year-old man has been charged with the murder of Grimsby man Billy Baker. Stephen Beaumont, of no fixed address, was to appear before Grimsby Magistrates Court today. Police were called shortly before 1 p.m. on Wednesday the 6th of January after Mr Baker was found dead at an address in Wheelsby Street. A 33-year-old woman, a 34-year-old woman and a 34-year-old man, also arrested on suspicion of murder, have been bailed to a date in February, pending further inquiries. Elsewhere, Humberside Police is continuing to question Liam Windass in connection with a shooting outside McDonald's at St Andrew's Quay in Hull. It is believed the 24-year-old from West Hull handed himself into police. They say Mr Windass is helping them with their inquiries. It comes a week after the shooting, in which 2 people escaped unhurt when a blue Volkswagen Golf was fired at in the restaurant's car park. Another anti-refuge banner has been strapped to the Peaks Parkway Bridge in Grimsby by the English Defence League. The banner reads, "Grimsby says no to Syrian refugees, stop the Islamic invasion." It comes after the last EDL banner was removed from the bridge at the end of November. The Country Park Inn in Hessel has gone on the market for around £700,000. 2 years ago, the well-known pub and restaurant was forced to close for several months after it was flooded by the tidal surge of December 2013. And work has got underway on the new Next store in Hull's Kingswood area. The clothing giant is building the store next to Kingswood Retail Park, but concerns have been raised by some residents that infrastructure isn't sufficient for the expected increase in traffic. East Riding of Yorkshire Council will be carrying out major carriageway improvement works on the A614 from the 22nd of February as part of its ongoing programme of highway maintenance. The £930,000 carriageway resurfacing scheme is to take place between Hull Road roundabout and Howden Spur roundabout, incorporating the main carriageway and Howden Dyke roundabout. And that is the latest from the news.
Bird watching is a hobby enjoyed by millions of nature lovers around the world, and one of the best places for ornithology in Europe is right on our doorstep. Last year, the Humber Estuary was on the list of the top 10 bird watching sites in Europe, and with birds migrating for the winter, we went to find out why.
If you're the type of person who enjoys bird watching, then you're in luck this winter. Late last year, the Humber Estuary was named as one of the top 10 spots in Europe to go bird watching and one of the top 5 places in the UK to see birds. The number of migratory birds settling in the area for the winter is being cited as the reason for the rich wildlife.
Absolutely right, but it's wintering migratory overwintering birds. You look at it now, it's fairly sparse for birds, but they should be arriving within the next month or two. Yeah, well, it's the biggest estuary on the east coast, and we've got loads of mud flats, which gives them bags of food, and that's why they come and visit us.
The grassy areas on the banks provide great nesting spots, and the mud dunes provide a wide array of food sources.
Yeah, it's the food supply we've got here. We've got some massive mud flats, and that's what we're coming for all the what we call Bethnic community. But it's all the shellfish, worms and grubs that are living within the mud that the birds come for.
And then there is a huge range of unique birds that settle for the winter, ranging from the more common sites to the more rare sites that are rarely seen on the estuary.
You'll see the big clouds of sweeping over the estuary. They're usually dunlin or not. Then we've got the curlews, oyster catchers, shelduck. If calling at the Discovery Centre, we've just put a load of birds up on the displays, showing you the different birds you'll see in there. The most recent ones we've got coming in, and we've seen quite a lot of them now, and that's the little creeps. They've started to make an appearance on the estuary. whereas one time you never used to see them.
Unfortunately, it seems a lot of people don't know how rich for bird life the Humber Estuary is. And now, with the help from the Lincolnshire Wildlife Partnership, the aim is to persuade more people to come and see the varieties of bird life that settle on the Humber.
No, it's one of our secrets. We keep it to ourselves, and we should be jumping up and down, shouting how good it is. It's a fantastic green tourist attraction. 130,000 birds at any one time. It's well worth visiting. We are working with the Greater Lincolnshire Nature Partnership, doing a survey at the moment as how the whole of the east coast of Lincolnshire can be promoted for its green tourism. We've got the seals, they'll be starting in another couple of months. And then we've got the birds as well, which are absolutely fantastic to come and see.
And if you have any news or sports stories for us, or you'd like to appear on our news sofa, you can get in touch with us on the by emailing it's news@estuary.tv, or by calling us on 01472 3155553. Little technology there. My guest tonight comes from the charity Homestart, which late last year launched its Snowflake Appeal. The appeal aims to help vulnerable children who may be living in poverty or suffering family crises. Fiona Griffin from the Homestart charity joins me today. Fiona, thanks very much for coming in.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
How has the Snowflake Appeal been going?
Yeah, it's been going well, thank you. We've had people doing a few different things for us, bag packing, a few tombola stalls, so it's trickling in. And I just thought I'd come back and see if we can get a few more people doing things for us.
I'm very glad you have. Let's just recap a little bit. What is Homestart? What's its history? How did it come about?
Sure. Well, Homestart, I work for Homestart Lincolnshire, although there's all different Homestarts dotted across the UK and beyond. It all started in 1973, where a lady, a very inspirational woman in Leicester, called Margaret Harrison, she had this idea. She was already working with children who were vulnerable and needed some support, and she thought, wouldn't it be better to get in at the beginning and work with the family rather than just the child when they're already at the point as presenting as being vulnerable. And it made tremendously good sense, and she managed to get a charity together, Homestart in Leicester. The idea behind the name, although sometimes we get people think we're a vehicle start company, you know, we'll come to your house and start your car, or
jump leads, yeah.
Yeah, we've had people think that perhaps we help people save up for a deposit for their first home. We don't do any of that. The idea is that we go into homes and help families at the start of their children's lives, Homestart. And what we do is anybody who's going through difficulties, really. It could be absolutely anything. There's no typical Homestart family at all. People from all walks of life. People who are suffering problems such as mental illness, physical illness, perhaps there's been a bereavement in the family. We have people with problems such as if you have had a very difficult childhood yourself, you find you've become a parent and you have no role model, you know.
Sure, it's a sort of self-perpetuating thing. I guess if you don't know how to do parenthood, then your children won't know how to do parenthood either.
Yeah, and some people, you know, are tremendously self-aware, realise that they could do with some support, and they can come to us. You could be referred to Homestart by a health worker or someone like that. But crucially, Homestart is a voluntary organisation on both sides.
Well, that point that you made, that it's a matter of working with the family as well, so that's the whole approach to the whole household, rather than just not a matter of isolating or separating the child from a family, but solving the problems that might otherwise have led to that.
Absolutely. The whole thing about Homestart is working together with the family. We're not an organisation that's going to go in and say, right, you need to do this with your child, you shouldn't do that. What we do is we work together with the family. We would, if you come to us asking for help, first of all, we'd send around a family coordinator who'd go in and speak to you about what you think the problem is, what you think would help, and what kind of help you actually need. It's really a bespoke service, and it's absolutely free, and it's open to anybody.
Now, the people who provide this service have to be fairly remarkable people themselves, I guess.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Our volunteers are wonderful people. They have to have parenting experience themselves. And so they have that empathy immediately, you know. They have that empathy with somebody.
I don't know. A few people with parenting experience who absolutely never want to see another child in their lives.
Well, you know, maybe that's how you're feeling if you've got a 6-month-old baby that's keeping you up crying all night, you know. I think there's a definite room for empathy there. And that's the thing. I think there's quite this glossy idea of motherhood, fatherhood, it being dreamy and easy, and gradually society's starting to sort of chip away at this idea of how we're all supposed to be wonderful Earth mothers. But if you don't have any family or friends around you, and you haven't, the first experience you've got of looking after a baby is your own baby, you know, you might be really shocked about how hard it is.
Well, and it is terrifying, yes.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the wonderful things about us, is you don't need to have another issue that you're dealing with as well. We don't need to tick a box to say, yes, you're suffering with this illness, that problem, you know, you're deprived in this way. It could just be that you had no idea it was going to be this hard, and you're really starting to suffer.
If people want to volunteer, and I know that you're looking for volunteers, how can they get in touch, and what do they have to do?
Sure. Well, as I said at the beginning, there's lots of different home starts all over the country. So the first thing you need to do is find your local home start. I work for Home Start Lincolnshire. There's also, they exist across the area you cover.
And there's a website you can go to
yeah, there's Home Start UK, which will direct you to your local Home Start. And you don't have to be 100% sure you want to volunteer. You can just get in touch with us, and we'll help you learn a bit more about it.
We'll talk a little bit more about it and about the snowflake appeal after the break, Fiona.
Great.
Stay with us, as coming up after the break, we have our weekly reflections, and Dave Nunn will be bringing you all the regional news. Welcome back, you're watching Estuary News. Still to come, we have this week's reflections from the Reverend Ben Norton, and Dave Nunn brings us all the regional news from the newspapers, and we'll have the latest local sports news and results. My guest Fiona Griffin is still here, talking about the Home Start Snowflake Appeal. We were interrupted there by the break. You were just about to tell us how people can volunteer if they want to. We know that they have to be parents, they have to be fairly empathetic. What do they have to do to get involved?
All they have to do is get in touch with us. We run a very comprehensive course for them. So if you're thinking about it and you're not sure your experience is relevant, or if you know enough about it, don't worry, just get in touch with us. We run a 40-hour course. Now that can be over any amount of time, really, you know, to fit in with people. So don't worry, you don't have to have a whole week free. People sometimes worry that they don't want to get too involved with a family necessarily, and what we can do is we can offer. It's very important to us that it's a very professional service. We don't just match you up with a family and you go and that's it. Our families don't know the volunteer's surname. They never have their own contact details.
Okay.
And every time after a visit, the volunteer will get back to us and let us know how it's gone, and you know,
so they
can help tailor the service.
Professional
really.
Separation, professional isolation.
Absolutely,
there of interests.
And we're very good at finding that right level. It's a befriending service in some levels, but also within that, it's very professionally done.
You talk about a 40-hour course for your volunteers. Yeah. And that's to help people being parents. But if a 40-hour course is just to go along and help, then how long a course should people be doing to become parents? What sort of training should be compulsory before being fruitful?
I think our society has changed so much. It used to be, you know, probably if you think back a very long time, we would have all been living in hunter-gatherer groups, and there's everybody doing it around you, you know, and you would just probably pick it up. But we're increasingly isolated, especially over the last 30 or 40 years since people stopped playing out so much. So really there was a training course, wasn't there, which was picking it up. But now, particularly if you're isolated, maybe you don't live near your family, maybe you've just moved to an area and have twins, and that's why people can suddenly need a bit of help.
Now, what's the Snowflake Appeal very specifically has been running through November and December and runs up to the end of January?
That's right, yeah.
What is it? What's been going on?
Well, the Snowflake Appeal is akin to something like Red Nose Day or Children in Need. What we're doing is we're appealing to people. You don't have to be a volunteer or have anything to do with Home Start, just somebody who thinks that's a good idea, I'd like to support that in my community. We want you to go out and come up with your own fundraising idea. Maybe you could wear a onesie for a day, you could ask the school that your children are at if they'd do a non-uniform day for us,
right.
You know, a sponsored run, anything to raise money for us.
Can you have us sitting in front of the television wearing a dressing gown day? Would that be a... Because I can do that.
If you can get sponsored to do that, we'll take the money. Yes, absolutely.
That sounds fair enough. Has it been a success?
Yes, we've had people come out to support us. It's been very encouraging, but as
Brilliant.
ever, we need more. And
Okay.
we're not restricted in our fundraising to the Snowflake Appeal. Any time of the year, please get in touch.
You're an excellent cause. Come back in a few months and tell us how it's been going.
Thank
you so much for coming in. Now we have our weekly reflections, and this time it's from the Reverend Ben Norton. And
so
how
I
much
guess
more
that's
can
it.
I
All the
roll?
mince pies have been eaten and the tinsel's been packed away for another year. The lights have been taken down, and of course our thoughts turn to the new year. Maybe you've got some New Year's resolutions. Maybe you've already signed up for the gym, given up smoking and drinking, and have New Year's agendas that maybe will last a couple of weeks. But the thing is, when it comes to change, it's not always easy. I've found that when I've gone through changes in life, at times my faith has really been questioned. The ancient question crops up, God, where are you? But for me, in my experience, I've found that having faith means change, means embracing change. But faith means that God is always with us, that he never leaves us alone, that no matter what we face, whether the changes are what we have chosen, or whether those changes are bigger and graver and that have been imposed upon us. The story that we heard over Christmas and the Nativity is one that God comes to earth, that he is one of us, that he promises never to leave us, and that his love will always surround us, no matter what change we face.
And joining me now to talk us through what's been happening across the region is Dave Nunn. How are you, Dave?
I'm all right here. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you. What's been going on in the last few days?
So the first thing we're going to talk about is something that Erica referred to in the news bulletin, which is the EDL banner that appeared over Peaks Parkway in Grimsby on the bridge.
This is the second time, isn't it? This is the English Defence League with, how should we put it, xenophobic comments.
Yeah, I didn't even know the EDL was still a thing. I thought they weren't actually a thing anymore, but apparently they're still active. They posted a statement on, I think on Facebook, saying, for our children's future, Lincolnshire EDL refused to be silenced by Grimsby Council. You can see another banner has gone up on Peaks Parkway after recent events. They spelled it wrong, but
Right.
events.
Oh
In
dear.
Europe, we feel the need to get this message across to the people of Grimsby and Lincolnshire. Our way of life is at risk of disappearing by the onslaught of Muslim immigration.
Well, clearly the English language is at some risk from them, isn't it? What a pity.
It
I
is a
suppose
pity, it
sort
is
of
a
the freedom of expression thing comes up here, but you don't get freedom of expression to use other people's bridges for it, I suppose. That's the council's point of view.
It is a pity because they're complaining that there's an onslaught of Muslim immigration and specifically talking about Syrian refugee families. But as far as I know, there's only about 10 Syrian refugees or 10 Syrian refugee families actually settling in Grimsby.
Yes.
So I wouldn't really call it an onslaught.
Well,
so to
that's not
speak.
particularly a compliment to Grimsby either, is it? But
No.
what else? What more?
So one of the big stories that happened sort of over the holiday period and went into last week was, of course, the shooting at the McDonald's in Hull. Did you see that?
I did.
Even though you were in Spain?
I was, well, we do have media in Spain, you know. The news is brought to us on donkey back. But what was the... Anyway, this is a terrible story, the shooting in Hull. What are the latest developments?
Obviously, the police were trying to hunt down. They arrested one man and they arrested two people that were in the car, and they were looking for this Liam Windass, who obviously went on the run. And I think late on Friday night he handed himself in. We don't exactly know where he handed himself into, but it said in the paper, it says, Humberside Police confirmed today, this was written on Saturday, that Liam Windass gave himself up last night and is in custody helping officers with their inquiries.
Remarkable that even with all our remarkably tight gun laws in comparison to the situation that Barack Obama is trying to counter in the United States, that people can still drive out to a restaurant with a gun in the car.
This is the thing that surprises me, because normally when you hear about a shooting incident, it's, you know, late at night and down some dark alley somewhere. This was 11 o'clock during the Christmas holidays outside of McDonald's. That's pretty daring.
Well, still, happily, it's rare enough for it to be news. That's not the case in other places.
So this is an interesting story. It's a national story, actually, that happened over the weekend. There's a woman called Tracy Curtis Taylor finishes UK flight to Australia in a biplane, obviously following the steps of Hull's famous aviator Amy Johnson.
Absolutely, yes. And she's, this is an open cockpit plane. This really is the Biggles thing, with a leather flying helmet and the goggles. And I mean, it must have been horrible.
It says she flew over 23 countries and made some 50 refuelling stops. I mean, She set off a couple of months ago, and you think now it's like you can get on a plane and you could be in Sydney by the end of today.
Yeah.
But, you know, it takes that long in an old-style plane. It makes you feel what Amy Johnson must have been through.
Although, actually, I've just flown back Ryanair, so she was comparatively comfortable. Dave, thank you very much for coming in. Time now for the sports news.
Hull City move into the fourth round of the FA Cup with a 1-0 victory over Championship rivals Brighton. Well, we spoke to manager Steve Bruce.
The only ones I kept was the back four intact. I made the other changes and I thought we played very, very well. It shows the bit of strength and depth I've got with making 6-7 changes, produce a performance where we've had 23 attempts on their goal to their 2. However, we could be going to Brighton the next week in a replay.
City's next game is on Wednesday. They'll face Cardiff at the KC Stadium. And the draw for the fourth round of the Emirates FA Cup will take place on Monday evening. The Tigers will be ball number 32 in the draw. Fourth round ties will be played over the 29th, 30th and 31st of January and the 1st of February. Elsewhere, Iron manager Mark Robbins has described Scunthorpe United's FA Cup exit at the hands of Chelsea as a day to be proud. Goals from Diego Costa and Ruben Loftus-Cheek secured a 2-0 victory for the Premier League champions against a Scunthorpe side. Despite defeat, the manager says his squad can take a number of positives from the game, adding that they stepped up in the second half. They're up against Blackpool at Bloomfield Road on Saturday. Elsewhere over the weekend, it was great news for Grimsby Town. They beat Welling 4-0 in the National League at the weekend. Grimsby remained third in the table with the home side 3 points from safety, and 2 goals in 2 minutes from Jonathan Oglesby and Daniel Trott turned the FA Vars fourth round tie on its head to give Cleethorpes Town a 2-1 win over Alvechurch at the Bradley FDC. And that's all from the sport.
That's it for tonight. My thanks to Fiona Griffin from Homestart and the Snowflake Appeal. My thanks to Dave. If you have a news story, then do please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, details on the screen, or email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Estuary TV weather, sponsored by Rix Petroleum, your local family-owned heating oil supplier this winter.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Tuesday we'll see some bright and sunny intervals, along with some longer spells of rain in the afternoon and highs of 5 degrees Celsius. Wednesday will be more sunny spells and isolated showers.
Rix, servicing the region's oil boilers this winter from a name you can trust. Get in touch at rix.co.uk or call us on 01482 838383.